Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, reacting to the Toronto Raptors 120-105 win against the Sacramento Kings. Ryker, another day, another win for the Toronto Raptors.
Another day, another victory against a fun Sacramento Kings team.
Yeah.
I think they have a lot of good young pieces, and their record doesn't necessarily relate to how well they are this season. They have a little while to go, but they're still fun. But before we start, as always, comment of the day, we got a couple, maybe a clarification one to start. A lot of people in the last podcast are commenting. I guess you name dropped that you're in Toronto, in Montreal. Just to clarify, you go to school there, yeah?
Yeah,
I know this,
I do.
but just so everybody else knows it, you're not. Once somebody said, "Are you just passing by?" You're definitely not passing by. You're there.
We stand for the semesters.
That's it.
Summer, who knows, but we're here for the semesters.
Yeah, he's deep into that coding. All right, but the real comment of the day, an interesting point, and this is based off of the previous game's reaction video. All right, it's on the screen there for you guys. I'll read it to Ben. This is the first time he hears it. Mirotic is being shot by the Pelicans. It's the perfect time to trade OG, Norm, and CJ for Mirotic. We need shooting, believe me. We just do. Mirotic off the bench would be insane. Please, watch what he did in the playoffs last year. If we can get him, game over. I don't know about this, and the reason I'm bringing it up is because CJ Miles had himself a wonderful game, and we'll talk about him later on. He's been playing well. Norman Powell's also on the rebound now, and I don't know about the Raptors' history with having, unathletic three-point shooters that really don't turn out to be as expected.
Are you referring to someone there, Ryker?
No, nobody comes to mind, but it's just a lingering feeling that I have.
Yeah, no, personally, obviously OG hasn't played as of late, and he's had this up and down season. I would not give up on OG right now. And, Nikola Mirotic has had such a great year. He's a good player, but, this could be its own video itself, but personally, I wouldn't trade. I'd be hesitant to trade Norm and CJ the way Norm has been playing this season, and CJ's good. Obviously, Mirotic, you'd probably do that deal, but OG on top of that, no chance for me. Just any quick thoughts on that for yourself, Ryker?
I'd be willing to throw down and say, you're crazy. I love the comments, and if enough people want us to make a video about why Nikola Mirotic would not be a great idea on the Toronto Raptors, let us know, but I think the immediate answer is, that's a big fat L. That trade, there's no reason for it to happen. It's not going to happen. There's bigger fish in the pond that the Raptors can look after. I think Mirotic would be, at the very bottom of the list. I don't think there's any list that includes Mirotic.
Mirotic is good. Mirotic is good. Giving up OG, our future for that. I don't know, but regardless, we have a game to talk about. Ryker, tonight, we played the Sacramento Kings. You mentioned at the beginning of the pod, the Kings have been very good this season in a very tough Western Conference. Obviously, De'Aaron Fox didn't play tonight, but Buddy Hield has been on an absolute tear as of late. But the Toronto Raptors held their own, and throughout this whole game, really had a stranglehold on the Sacramento Kings.
That's for sure. I mean, there's a couple guys that were they pushed the pace. I think that's the one thing that you can attribute to this young team, and that's what you should kind of expect them to do night in and night out because they have so many fresh legs. I mean, they're almost their entire unit that they were relying on for most of the game was young guys. Buddy Hield, Bagley, Yogi Ferrell, who had himself a pretty decent game as well after he was on the Mavericks last year. And he's a big player on my radar because he did fantastic for me. I had him in my fantasy team right when he had his explosion in Dallas. And, I've been relying on him to be a better player than what he is. But Marvin Bagley, another good young talent. Like I said, they really they were aggressive and they pushed the tempo. But at the end of the day, when the Raptors, whenever it got close, they ran plays, they hit their shots, they brought it in, they let Pascal Siakam do his work down low. There was nobody that could stop Pascal Siakam. Fred VanVleet finally bounced back. Kyle Lowry, after struggling shooting, he bounced back. So I don't think there was ever a fear, like you said, of the Raptors losing this game.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned it. Fred VanVleet came out, started this game on an absolute tear. 19 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds for Fred VanVleet. He's been playing well as of late. He's had an up and down season. But what were your thoughts on him tonight?
I think it's really good to see. And he had the post-game press conference. Right, he was interviewed out on the floor, and they asked him as well. What did it take? You finally bounced back. He's been struggling as of late, and he's just the coach has confidence in him, just like we have. All the fans know that's Steady Freddy. He just was in a bit of a slump. Tonight he was finding a shot. I wouldn't say that his game style really changed radically from whatever it normally is. He's a player that always is very level-headed and takes the right shots and distributed the ball well tonight. I think it's just a combination of the right guys are out there now. Nick Nurse is figuring out the lineups, and everybody is stepping up.
Yeah, for sure. And, another guy that's really been struggling, at least from the three-point line. Like, obviously, Kyle Lowry does a lot of different things on the court. But tonight, he got his rhythm, especially at the end of this game. 19 points, 9 assists for Kyle Lowry. He's been very banged up. He's had that back injection. He hasn't looked completely right physically on the court. But it was really nice to see him hit a few shots right in a row tonight, because his three-point shot has been nothing less than abysmal as of late. He's still he's still playing great defense. He's still creating for the Toronto Raptors. But if we want to be good in the playoffs and we want to beat teams like the Bucks, the Celtics, even the Warriors, if we want to have a shot at that, we need Kyle Lowry at least a threat from the three-point arc, and that was the case for the Raptors tonight.
No, I absolutely agree. And there was an interesting point made by somebody in the comments, I don't remember how many videos ago, but they said it's time for you guys, referring to us, to stop defending Kyle Lowry. Right? If he's not performing, if he's not putting up his points, if he's shooting 20% per game, it doesn't matter if he's getting assists and a few rebounds. He's a liability to have it on the court. Right? And you can't let past performance, you can't let him having been an all-star affect your opinion of his ability this season. And I actually got a little bit persuaded by that comment to think, you know what, you're right. Is it worth it to have him playing 30 minutes a game if, 1 out of every 5 shots is that's all that's going to go in, because we need more productivity from Lowry. And this was a good game. There was a critical play drawn up for him in the fourth quarter where he hit a good 3 to really, get the momentum completely on the Raptors side. So hopefully he can continue to streak here, and hopefully, when Kawhi Leonard gets integrated back into the lineup, they allowed him to rest this game, that, the chemistry will still stay and he'll be able to still get a shot up.
Yeah, now Lowry has been getting a lot of hate from Raptors fans and stuff, and I think we get misinterpreted a lot as well, because, I don't think Kyle Lowry is really ever a liability on the floor, because no matter how bad he's playing, we've watched Kyle Lowry play for the last however long seasons with the Toronto Raptors. We've seen his shooting stroke come and go, but regardless of whether the shots are going down, he still is a good passer, he's still a good rebounder, he still does everything else well on the court. But if we want to be a top-tier team, if we want to be a championship-level team, then we need him to be a scoring threat.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the same. The reason that people hate on him is because it's the same year in, year out criticism, that he'll shine in the regular season and that his shooting will collapse once it comes playoff time. And now fans are upset because his shooting is collapsing before even the All-Star break, right? So they're like, well, what? We have this guy on basically a max contract. He's already old. Mm-hmm. What do we expect from him? What can we expect from him? Is he able to lead this team when they're making their playoff push this season? And hopefully he's able to continue this stretch, like we said, but we'll have to watch more games to determine that.
Most definitely. And Kyle Lowry, and oftentimes it's injuries that have really plagued Kyle Lowry in terms of his scoring ability. So hopefully if Kyle Lowry can just get this back right and stay healthy for the season, I'm sure everything will be great. You mentioned it, Pascal Siakam has been a beast all year. Serge Ibaka has been bullying it down low. But the guy that has been back, Norman Powell, CJ Miles, what were your thoughts on just the bench as a whole tonight? Even DeLon Wright had some really nifty moves.
Yeah, if you check out the box score, you have an all-around game. Right? Yep. It's one of the ones that you're going to come in. You're at home, right? The Raptors are tied for, I think, the best record at home now. They have a 10-game home win streak. It's against a relatively easy sub-500 team. This is a game where
They're 500. They're 500.
They are exactly 500?
Yeah, 24-24, Sacramento Kings.
All right, there we go. A relatively easy team to handle for a top echelon team like the Toronto Raptors. So you want to see this even distribution of minutes. You want to see everybody getting play and then capitalizing on the time that they're out there. And we're finally at a point that Norman Powell, he is clearly putting in the effort on defense.
Yep.
Right? He's shooting over.
He's always done that.
He's always done it, but now it's translating. Now he's getting transition. There was one play he was in transition, and he looked like he was going to poster. I forget who was the defender, but he just jumped off of 2 feet almost from the free throw line. Did some, he shucked the controller stick and did some weird moves in the air and finished an and one. But I mean, that kind of confidence, right? He's shooting over 50%, so it's good to see. DeLon Wright, not as good shooting percentage, but still had himself a game. So there's one last player to talk about, but we're going to save him to the segments. So let's swing into that now.
Yeah, for sure. Tonight, the Kawhi you do him like that play of the day. You have the Kawhi you do him like that, so take it away, Riker.
The Kawhi you do him like that. Fred VanVleet, first quarter. Right now, this is the razzle dazzle. This is the highlight reel stuff that maybe TSN is not going to play because they don't understand the fundamental basketball, only dunks and threes, but just a perfect hesitation, almost an in and out, right? That completely froze the defender, and just a wide open passage baseline, and then goes up, bit of a contest at the rim, so does a hard, very difficult reverse layup and finishes it. It was Fred VanVleet or maybe Michael Jordan. I'm not sure.
They both rock 23.
That's it.
They both rock number 23.
Well, yeah, so that was by far the Kawhi doing like that play of the night.
But, Riker, not all plays can be the Kawhi you do him like that play of the day, and some just make you say, oh, geez. And tonight, our other backup point guard, DeLon Wright, is getting the OGs. We got a positive OGs here tonight. Mm-hmm. The DeLon Wright, he didn't have the greatest shooting night, but he still played a pretty solid game. Had some moves. DeLon Wright has been pretty shifty as of late, and tonight, he's plus 24 for the game. He went down on the fast break, and there was a shot that went up, and DeLon he was floating. It was like he had the gravity of the moon underneath his body, and the rest of the world were on Jupiter, because he just rose up, got this crazy rebound. It was one of the most ridiculous rebounds I've seen all season. Gets it and then finishes the ball in the paint. I saw him rise up, and I said, "Oh geez," at the screen. DeLon Wright, he's got sneaky ups. He's got sneaky ups on those boards.
Sneaky ups. That's it. What a segment piece. And finally, the one, the only, the infamous, the DeMarre Carroll Gold Star Award. I wish I didn't have to give it out tonight, because you know what? It's coming back around to us.
Yep.
Both of us, we can burden it a little bit, but mainly me, because if fans will remember, and they certainly will.
I was a little bit nicer.
Yeah, I said word for word, you are over, CJ Miles. You're done. Your time in the NBA has expired. And maybe he heard me. Right, maybe that's what it took to light the fire under this man and get him playing, shooting threes, shooting 80% from three, 70% from the field. 3 games in a row now he's played well. The fans are behind him. Everybody's wanted him to start and, to get up there and play inspired basketball. And finally,
he's such a likable player.
Right?
He's such a likable guy.
CJ's PJs, that's the cutest thing in the world. It's so weird. But
Danny Green agrees.
But that's it. So it's good to see him bounce back, and I'll definitely take that personal L in making the statement that he is finished in the league. Something happened. Maybe he took Michael Jordan's special stuff, and he's just reinvigorated out there playing basketball. Like, he has no time left on the court in the league, because he doesn't. If he starts playing bad, he's gone. Yeah. So it's good for him.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I said maybe take like a month off, CJ, and then we'll see where you're at in like a month. But he was kind of off maybe he took that advice as well. He was off for a couple weeks with a hip injury, came back, got his chance, and was splashing threes. But one question I want to throw to you about CJ Miles, right? Because everyone's been talking about how this Toronto Raptors team needs. Well, we've been horridly inconsistent from the 3-point line this season, and when the shots are going in, we look like a almost unstoppable team out there, because we have Kawhi who can score in the paint, get a bucket at will down the stretch. Defensively we're ridiculous, especially when we're fully healthy. Danny Green, Kawhi, Pascal Siakam, OG when he's out there, Kyle Lowry, Serge Ibaka. And then offensively, if we want to be a top tier team in the NBA, it's going to be the 3-point shooting, which is going to really put us over the top, because we can do all the other things, and we do it on a night-to-night basis. That's why we're a top team in the East, top team in the league. But, if we need that 3-point shooting. So if we have CJ Miles come in, because everyone wants us to trade for guys like Bradley Beal, and, that's definitely a fair statement if we can get a good trade, or other 3-point shooters. But if CJ Miles can be relatively consistent with his 3-point shot, I'm not saying he has to score 15 points every night, 14 points every night, but you can count on him to hit 2 or 3 threes. Do you think that changes how this Raptors team can look going forward?
No, it doesn't.
No.
I still think that the best outcome of CJ Miles Norman Powell is a different story, but certainly for CJ Miles, all right, hear me out, that everybody complains about 3-point shooting for the Raptors because the Raptors are taking more threes, and everybody wants to emulate the winning recipe right now, which is Golden State Warriors basketball. But the thing about Golden State Warriors basketball is that all of their three-point shooters, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, even
Boogie Cousins.
Boogie, but right, but even Draymond Green in the playoffs sometimes has outbursts where he can hit the three-pointer. They can all defend, right? They're all terrific defenders, and Steph Curry is underrated. Kevin Durant is considered one of the best in the league, and so that's why somebody like Danny Green, you want him to start making his three-point shots because you can still have him out on the court.
He's been pretty consistent all year.
No, he's been consistently like 30%. You want a higher rate from him for sure. And CJ Miles, even if he's shooting his best game, if you have him in an intense playoff matchup, who are we talking about here? Maybe like the Boston Celtics, right, where they have a lot of small ball. He's not going to be able to defend anybody on the court. That doesn't matter if he's shooting a shot. Offense doesn't win games. You still need that D. So he's a liability out there regardless. It's nice to see him play well, but I think his value comes from being a trade piece.
Okay. See, I disagree with you there on that statement because I think CJ is a fine defender if he's not guarding posts. Obviously in the playoffs last season when he was stuck on Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson in the paint, it was abysmal to watch. But I think he's a fine player defensively. He's not good by any means, but he's respectable.
Yeah.
So if we have a guy that can consistently stretch the floor for this team, which has been our biggest issue, because defensively we're fine, and other things. And CJ can kind of
defensively we're fine because everybody can play good defense except CJ, right?
Well, I think you're underestimating. You're overstating how poorly he is on defense. I think he's fine, and he's also a capable driver. He's not complete. He's not Damari Carroll-esque when he goes in. He's completely out of control. We saw him almost throw down a dunk tonight. I think if CJ can play at a consistent level, he could be the missing piece to the bench mob to make them have that sort of that same feel from last season and hype up, this Toronto Raptors team, make everyone play better, because if Kawhi Leonard's in the post, obviously he didn't play tonight, or Pascal Siakam's in there, and people help off of guys like CJ and they can knock down those threes, either those defenders are not going to help or they're going to leave open an open three-point shooter. So I think that creates a multi-dimensional threat for this Toronto Raptors offense.
Okay, fair enough. I don't agree. I don't think that CJ Miles, regardless of how good he can become on offense,
if he can be consistent, if he can just be consistent,
I don't think that his defense holds up. But we'll see.
Let us know what you guys think.
Let us know exactly.
Yeah. Is CJ the missing piece? Is he going to be our trade deadline accusation? I can't speak today. But regardless, the Toronto Raptors, we do nothing. We make a move. We get Bradley Beal. We get Nikola Mirotic. We're looking good right now. We're still competing neck and neck with the Milwaukee Bucks for the top of the East. We've been injured. We've been dealing with so much this season. And we continue to play at a high level. So it's going to be a fun end to the year and segue into the playoffs.
That's it. It's a good way to end it.
For sure. You guys are the best for making it this far. Check out the Twitter, the Instagram, all that cool stuff. You want to get on the comment of the day, you can hit us up on Twitter, Instagram. We're checking all that before the podcast to make sure you guys, we get the top, highest quality comment of the day. So you guys are the best. Any last words, Riker?
Nope. Cheers.